Shem Yahushua, double honors to the elders and apostles that faithfully divide the word and magnifying the word of truth. Dealing with how are we saved? Are we saved by the works of the law? Or what is we saved by? Right? We're gonna jump right into it. We're gonna first go to Matthew. It says, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that endure until the end, the same shall be saved. Say that this is just talking about the law. All we have to do is endure the law. But it's a lot of things that we're gonna have to endure. We gotta endure Jacob's trouble, you know, we gotta endure, the mark of the beast, and we gotta endure persecution, we gotta endure all type of things. So, you know, just wanted to throw that out there, that it's not just enduring the law, right? Because we could be keeping the law all the way up to Jacob's trouble, and then you could get weak in the flesh in Jacob's trouble and eat some unclean flesh or eat a roadkill, right? Or you could be keeping the commandments all the way up to the mark of the beast, but take the mark. And some brothers teach that the mark is not the RFID chip. If you teaching that the mark of the beast is not the RFID chip, you're going off, right? And brothers think that they could keep the commandments, and then when it gets to the mark of the beast, they could take the chip, right? Some brothers think like that. If you're not teaching that the RFID chip is the mark of the beast, it has no dominion over you. That means it's a high chance that you're going to take the chip, right? A lot of women that's keeping the commandments, they gonna fall short. I mean, they gonna fall out of the faith in Jacob's trouble. A lot of them gonna get weak in the flesh, right? When the time of the mark of the beast come, a lot of women is gonna take the mark, but they may keeping the commandments. We got to endure in order to be saved. That's why Christ or Yahushua, Salakia, said this in Revelations 2 and 10. Things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison that you may be tried. And the devil right here is talking about Esau Edom, the so-called white man. We know he owns all the prisons, Gonna throw that out there. There's nothing to sugarcoat. Esau Edom, the so-called white man, owns all the prison houses. So that's what it's talking about. It says the devil should cast some of you to prison that you may be tried. And ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Right? So we gotta endure. These are one of the things that we have to endure is persecution, right? You could be keeping the laws all the way up to the day of persecution, and then when you get persecuted, you denounce the faith and you go back into the world, man, because it get too heavy for you, right? It's another thing that we gotta endure. Let's go to Revelations chapter 13. Both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive the mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark, or the number of the beast, or the number of his name. Right? And a lot of people gonna take that mark. They've been keeping the commandments. A handful of Israelites that keep the commandments are going to take the mark. So it's not just enduring the commandments that's going to get us saved. You got to endure the persecution, and you got to endure the mark of the beast. It's going to be a handful of Israelites that's going to take the mark that been keeping the commandments. It's going to be a handful of Israelites that lose the faith and denounce the faith of Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, and persecution. Right? Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 5. Bashem Yahweh Shah, you have heard a voice of trembling, of fear. Ask ye now, and see whether a man doeth travel with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travel, and all the faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Right? So that's another thing that we gotta endure. We gotta endure Jacob's trouble, right? A lot of people is gonna get weak in the flesh in Jacob's trouble, going weeks without nothing to drink, nothing to eat. A lot of people gonna start eating roadkills and stuff like that, unclean flesh. We gotta endure that, right? Let's go back to Matthew chapter 24, verse 13. Let's read it again. It says, "But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved." So I just gave you a list of things that you gotta endure. You have to endure Jacob's trouble. You have to endure the persecution. You have to endure the mark of the beast, along with rehearsing the righteous acts. Don't get me wrong, we still have to rehearse the righteous acts, but that's not the only thing that's going to save us, right? But we do have to rehearse the righteous acts. Let's prove that. Matthew 7, verse 21, it says, "Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name I cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works. And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity." Right? So we know that we got to rehearse the righteous acts, or Yahweh Shai is gonna tell you, get away from you, man. He said, if you're not doing the will of the Father, you cannot enter into the kingdom. Now let's find out what the will of the Father is. So we still have to do the will of the Father. So go to Psalm chapter 40, verse 8. It says, "I delight to do thy will, O my power. Yeah, thy law is within my heart." Right? So we still have to do the will of the Father, which is the laws, right? We have to try to keep them to the best of our abilities, right? And the things we fall short in, that's where Yahweh Shah is there to strengthen us in the things we fall short. That's our grace, right? But we are not saved by just the works of the law, right? It's gonna be a lot of things that we're gonna have to endure. Let's go to Ephesians, right? Ephesians chapter 2. We'll start at verse 7. It says that in ages to come might show the exceeding riches of his grace and kindness toward us through Hamashiach Yahushua. For by grace ye are saved through faith, and not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. Right? So we saved through grace by faith, through Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua, Hamashiach, right? Because a lot of brothers is gonna be keeping these commandments and fall short or denounce the faith or take the mark in the time to come, right? So it's not of works, lest any man should boast, not of works, but faith. Let's go to Matthew 23 and 23. Faith is going to play a big part in us being saved. Yahweh Shah lets you know that. Matthew 23 and 23 says, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought you to have done and not leave the other undone," right? So faith is a big thing in this thing, man. Faith is a really big thing in this thing, right? Gotta have faith. You have to have faith, man. You can have all the works in the world, man, but if you don't have faith, you already done, right? If you don't have faith that the mark of the beast is the RFID chip and that you shouldn't take it, you already done, right? If you already feeling worried that when persecution come, it might get heavy for you, you already done. You already out of this thing. Let's go back to Revelations. Ooh, in verse 10, it says, "For none of those things which thou shalt suffer," right? So we can't even fear this thing. Don't fear. Don't have fear, or don't let these things trouble you, because like the scriptures say, Esau is the end of the world, but Jacob is the beginning that follow. So it's not the end for us. right? You shouldn't fear none of the things that you're gonna suffer, right? He says, Behold, the devil should cast some of you into prison that you may be tried. And you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life, right? And Yahweh Shai is not lying to you. He gonna give you a crown of life if you stay faithful unto death, man. If you endure Jacob's trouble, if you rehearse the righteous acts, right? Endure persecution, endure the mark of the beast. He gonna crown you with a crown of life, man. Right? Let's go to John chapter 14. We'll start at verse 2. It says, In my father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. Right? And I went here to show you that, man. If Yahweh Shah told us if we stay faithful to death, he gonna crown us with a crown of life. If that wasn't true, he wouldn't have told you, man. And you gotta have some strong faith to believe in that. Right? Let's go to Second Maccabees chapter 7. Right? It says, And it came to pass, 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips. But one of them spake first and said thus, What wouldest thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die rather than to transgress the laws of our fathers. Right? So this the spirit we gotta be in, man. We gotta be in that spirit to never, denounce the faith in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. We got to hold fast to this, right? We got to be like this brother in the spirit. The king, the king wanted them to eat the swine's flesh. He told them, man, we ready to die, man, than to transgress Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, right? Then it says, the king being enraged commanded the pans and cauldrons to be made hot, which forthwith being heated, commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first, and to cut off the uttermost parts of his body, the rest of his brethren and his mother looking on, right? So that's the spirit we got to be in, man. We got to be ready to, die for this thing, man. You got to really let that settle in, man. You got to put all the mirth aside, all the amusement aside, and really let, the troubles that get ready to come upon us sink in for a little bit, you know, because they coming, man. But I just wanted to throw that out there that, it's not just about works. We have to endure. We have to endure a lot of things, man. You know, we have to rehearse the righteous acts. We got to endure Jacob's trouble, right? The mark of the beast and persecution, and many other things too, right? But Lord willing, this was edifying. I'm gonna end it right here, Shalom.